The 2018 Winter Olympics, officially the XXIII Olympic Winter Games and also known as PyeongChang 2018, were an international winter multi-sport event held between 9 and February 25, 2018 in PyeongChang, South Korea, with the opening rounds for certain events held on February 8, a day before the opening ceremony. PyeongChang was elected as the host city for the 2018 Winter Games at the 123rd IOC session in Durban, South Africa in July 2011. This marked the second time that South Korea had hosted the Olympic Games, as well as the first time it hosted the Winter Olympics. The 2018 Games marked the third time that an Asian country had hosted the Winter Olympics, after Sapporo 1972 and Nagano 1998, both in Japan. It was also the first Winter Olympics to be held in mainland Asia, and the first of 3 consecutive Olympic Games to be held in East Asia, preceding the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, and the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, China. The 2018 Games featured 102 events over 15 disciplines, a record number of events for the Winter Games. This is the first edition in Winter Olympic Games history to feature more than 100 medal events, 4 of which made their Olympic debut in 2018, big air snowboarding, mass start speed skating, mixed doubles curling, and mixed team alpine skiing. A total of 2,914 athletes from 93 teams competed, with the national debuts of Ecuador, Eritrea, Kosovo, Malaysia, Nigeria, and Singapore. After a state-sponsored doping program was exposed following the 2014 Winter Olympics, the Russian Olympic Committee was suspended, but selected athletes were allowed to compete neutrally under the special IOC designation of Olympic athletes from Russia, provided they could meet certain anti-doping requirements. North Korea agreed to participate in the Games in spite of tense relations with South Korea. The two nations paraded together at the opening ceremony as a unified Korea, and fielded a unified team in the women's ice hockey. South Korea ranked 7th overall at the 2018 Winter Games, with 5 gold medals and 17 overall medals. South Korea has traditionally been a country that won many medals in short track speed skating, but in this competition, it also won medals in skeleton racing, curling, and skiing. South Korea's Yoon Sung-bin won a gold medal in men's skeleton racing, the first Olympic gold ever won by Asia in the sledding event. Norway led the total medal tally with 39, followed by Germany at 31 and Canada at 29. Germany and Norway were tied for the highest number of gold medals, both winning 14. Bidding and election. PyeongChang was elected as the host city at the 123rd IOC session in Durban, South Africa, on July 6, 2011, earning the necessary majority of at least 48 votes in just one round of voting. Winning 63 of the 95 votes cast in the first secret ballot, PyeongChang received more votes than its competitors combined, overwhelmingly beating Munich in Germany, which received 25 votes, and Annecy in France, which received 7. This was South Korea's third consecutive bid for the Winter Olympics, having been defeated by Vancouver and Sochi respectively in the final rounds of voting for the 2010 and 2014 Games. Earlier, PyeongChang lost to Vancouver with a difference of 3 votes in bidding the 2010 Olympics, and lost to Sochi with a difference of 4 votes in bidding the 2014 Olympics. Since then, South Korea made great progress in preparing to host the Winter Olympics and succeeded in hosting the 2018 Olympics after 3 challenges. After winning the election, PyeongChang became the third Asian city to host the Winter Olympics. Also, South Korea became the second country in Asia to host both the Summer and Winter Olympics. Development and preparation. On August 5, 2011, the International Olympic Committee announced the formation of the PyeongChang 2018 Coordination Commission. On October 4, 2011, it was announced that the organizing committee for the 2018 Winter Olympics would be headed by Kim Jin-sun. The PyeongChang Organizing Committee for the 2018 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games was launched at its inaugural assembly on October 19, 2011. The first tasks of the organizing committee were putting together a master plan for the Games as well as forming a design for the venues. The IOC Coordination Commission for the 2018 Winter Olympics made their first visit to PyeongChang in March 2012. By then, construction was already underway on the Olympic Village. In June 2012, construction began on a high-speed rail line that would connect PyeongChang to Seoul. The International Paralympic Committee met for an orientation with the PyeongChang 2018 Organizing Committee in July 2012. Then IOC President Jacques Rogge visited PyeongChang for the first time in February 2013. The PyeongChang Organizing Committee for the 2018 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games created PyeongChang Winners in 2014 by recruiting university students living in South Korea to spread awareness of the Olympic Games through social networking services and news articles. Medals. The design for the Games medals was unveiled on September 21, 2017. Created by Lee Suk-woo, the design features a pattern of diagonal ridges on both sides, with the Olympic rings on the front, and the obverse showing the 2018 Olympics emblem, the event name and the discipline. The edge of each medal is marked with extrusions of Hangul alphabets, while the ribbons are made from a traditional South Korean textile. Gold medals contained 99% of silver and 1% of gold, which is a traditional composition for Olympic gold medals. At 586 grams they were the heaviest medals in the Olympic history. Torch relay. The torch relay started on October 24, 2017 in Greece and lasted for 101 days, ending at the start of the Olympics on February 9, 2018. The Olympic torch entered South Korea on November 1, 2017. There were 7,500 torchbearers to represent the combined Korean population of approximately 75 million people. There were also 2,018 support runners to guard the torch and act as messengers. The torch and its bearers traveled by a diverse means of transportation, including by turtle ship in Hans-Ando Island, sailboat on the Bengmagang River in Baeo, marine cable car in Yeosu, zip wire over Bamsam Island, steam train in the Gokseong train village, marine rail bike along the east coast in Samcheok, and by yacht in Busan metropolitan city. There were also robot torch relays in Jeju and Daejeon. Venues. Most of the outdoor snow events were held in the county of PyeongChang, while some of the alpine skiing events took place in the neighboring county of Gyeongsan. The indoor ice events were held in the nearby city of Gangneung. PyeongChang. Gangneung. Ticketing. Ticket prices for the 2018 Winter Olympics were announced in April 2016 and tickets went on sale in October 2016. Event tickets ranged in price from 200,000 South Korean won to 900,000 while tickets for the opening and closing ceremonies ranged from 220,000 to 1.5 million. The exact prices were determined through market research. Around 50% of the tickets were expected to cost about 8,000 or less, and tickets in sports that are relatively unknown in the region, such as biathlon and luge, were made cheaper in order to encourage attendance. By contrast, figure skating and the men's ice hockey gold medal game carried the most expensive tickets of the Games. As of October 11, 2017, domestic ticket sales for the Games were reported to be slow. Of the 750,000 seats allocated to South Koreans, only 20.7% had been sold. International sales were more favorable, with 59.7% of the 320,000 allocated tickets sold. However, as of January 31, 2018, 77% of all tickets had been sold. The Games. Opening Ceremony. The opening ceremony of the 2018 Winter Olympics was held at the PyeongChang Olympic Stadium on February 9, 2018. The $100 million facility was only intended to be used for the opening and closing ceremonies of these Olympics and the subsequent Paralympics. It was demolished following their conclusion. Sports. The 2018 Winter Olympics featured 102 events over 15 disciplines and 7 sports, making it the first Winter Olympics to surpass 100 medal events. 6 new events in existing sports were introduced to the Winter Olympic program in PyeongChang: men's and ladies' big air snowboarding, mixed doubles curling, men's and ladies' mass start speed skating, and mixed team alpine skiing. Numbers in parentheses indicate the number of medal events contested in each separate discipline. Participating National Olympic Committees. A record total of 93 teams qualified at least one athlete to compete in the Games. The number of athletes who qualified per country is listed in the table below. 6 nations made their Winter Olympics debut: Ecuador, Eritrea, Kosovo, Malaysia, Nigeria, and Singapore. Athletes from 3 further countries, the Cayman Islands, Dominica, and Peru, qualified to compete, but all 3 national Olympic committees returned the quota spots back to the International Ski Federation. Under a historic agreement facilitated by the IOC, qualified athletes from North Korea were allowed to cross the Korean demilitarized zone into South Korea to compete in the Games. The 2 nations marched together under the Korean unification flag during the opening ceremony. A unified Korean team, consisting of 12 players from North Korea and 23 from South Korea, competed in the women's ice hockey tournament under a special IOC country code designation following talks in Panmunjom on January 17, 2018. The 2 nations also participated separately. The South Korea team competed in every sport and the North Korea team competed in alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, figure skating, and short-track speed skating. On December 5, 2017, the IOC announced that the Russian Olympic Committee had been suspended due to the Russian doping scandal and the investigation into the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi. Individual Russian athletes, who qualified and could demonstrate they had complied with the IOC's doping regulations, were given the option to compete at the 2018 Games as Olympic athletes from Russia under the Olympic flag and with the Olympic anthem played at any ceremony. Number of athletes by National Olympic Committee. Event scheduling. The IOC has allowed NBC to influence the Olympic event scheduling to maximize U.S. television ratings when possible, due to the substantial fees paid by NBC for rights to the Olympics, the company being one of IOC's major sources of revenue. As figure skating is one of the most popular Winter Olympic sports among U.S. viewers, the figure skating events were scheduled with morning start times to accommodate primetime broadcasts in the Americas. This scheduling practice affected the events themselves, including skaters having to adjust to the modified schedule, as well as lower attendance levels at the sessions. Conversely, and somewhat controversially, 8 of the 11 biathlon events were scheduled at night, making it necessary for competitors to ski and shoot under floodlights, with colder temperatures and blustery winds. Calendar. All dates are KST. Medal table. * host nation. Podium sweeps. 3 podium sweeps were recorded during the Games. Records. Noriaki Kasai of Japan became the first athlete in history to participate in 8 Winter Olympics when he took part in the ski jumping qualification the day before the opening of the Games. The previous record of 7 Winter Olympics was held by Russian lugger Albert Demchenko. Japanese athlete Yuzuru Hanyu became the fourth male figure skater to win 2 consecutive Olympic gold medals. American Nathan Chen became the first figure skater to land 5 quadruple jumps in one program. German figure skaters Aliana Savchenko and Bruno Massot set a new ISU best free skating score of 159.31 in pair skating. Canadian figure skaters Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer became the most decorated figure skaters in Olympic history with a total of 5 medals. Canadian figure skaters Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer set a new ISU best short dance score of 83.67 and a new ISU best combined total score of 206.07 in ice dance. French ice dancers Gabriela Papadakis and Guillaume Césarin set a new ISU best free dance score of 123.35. Russian figure skater Alina Zagitova set a new ISU best short program score of 82.92 in ladies single skating. Dutch speed skater Sven Kramer won gold in the men's 5000 m event, becoming the only male speed skater to win the same Olympic event 3 times. He was also the first man to win a total of 8 Olympic medals in speed skating. Dutch speed skater Irene Wust won an individual gold medal for the 4th Olympics in a row, the first time this had been achieved by a Winter Olympian. She also became the first speed skater to win 10 Winter Olympic medals and the first female Winter Olympian to win 9 individual medals. Chinese short track speed skater Wu Daiying beat the men's 500 m world record twice en route to winning a gold medal, becoming only the second person in history to skate the discipline in under 40 seconds, and the first to achieve this at sea level. Dutch athlete Jorian Termoors became the first female athlete to win Olympic medals in 2 different sports at a single Winter Games. She won a speed skating gold medal in the 1000 m and she was also part of the Dutch short track team that won bronze in the 3000 m relay. Esther Ledecka of the Czech Republic won gold in the Super G skiing event and another gold in the snowboarding parallel giant slalom, making her the first female athlete to win Olympic gold medals in 2 different sports at a single Winter Games. Norwegian cross-country skier Marit Bjergen won bronze in the women's team sprint and gold in the 30 km classical event, bringing her total Olympic medal haul to 15, the most won by any athlete in Winter Olympics history. The record was previously held by fellow Norwegian athlete Ole Einar Bjerndalen, who has 13 Olympic medals. Germany and Canada tied for gold in the 2-man bobsleigh event, only the second time in history that 2 countries had tied for a gold medal in this particular event, the first time being in the 1998 Winter Olympics 20 years earlier. Norway won a total of 39 medals, setting a new record for the highest number of medals won at a single Winter Olympics. Their 39th medal was the last gold medal won by cross-country skier Marit Bjergen in the 30 km classical event. The record was previously held by the USA, who won 37 medals in Vancouver 2010. Closing ceremony. The closing ceremony of the 2018 Winter Olympics was held at the PyeongChang Olympic Stadium on February 25, 2018. IOC President Thomas Bach declared the Games closed, and the cauldron was extinguished. The Olympic flag was handed to Beijing, the next host city of the Winter Olympics. Broadcasting. Broadcast rights to the 2018 Winter Olympics were already sold in some countries as part of long-term broadcast rights deals, including the Games' local right shoulder SBS, which in July 2011 had extended its rights to the Olympics through 2024. SBS sub-licensed its rights to MBC and KBS. On June 29, 2015, the IOC announced that Discovery Communications had acquired exclusive rights to the Olympics across all of Europe from 2018 through 2024. Discovery's pan-European Eurosport channels were promoted as the main broadcaster of the Games, but Discovery's free-to-air channels such as DMAX in Spain, Canal 5 in Sweden, and TV Norge in Norway, were also involved in the overall broadcasting arrangements. Discovery was required to sub-license at least 100 hours of coverage to free-to-air broadcasters in each market. Some of these agreements required certain sports to be exclusive to Eurosport and its affiliated networks. The deal did not initially cover France due to the broadcast rights of France Televisions, which run through to the 2020 Games. In the United Kingdom, Discovery held exclusive pay television rights under license from the BBC, in return for the BBC sub-licensing the free-to-air rights to the 2022 and 2024 Olympics from Discovery. Russian state broadcaster Channel 1, and sports channel Match TV, committed to covering the Games with a focus on Russian athletes. Russia was not affected by the Eurosport deal, due to a pre-existing contract held by a marketing agency which extends to 2024. In the United States, the Games were once again broadcast by NBC Universal Properties under a long-term contract. On March 28, 2017, NBC announced that it would adopt a new format for its primetime coverage of the 2018 Winter Olympics, with a focus on live coverage in all time zones to take advantage of PyeongChang's 14-hour difference with U.S. Eastern Time, and to address criticism of its previous tape delay practices. As before, the prime time block began at 8 p.m. ET, and unlike previous Olympics, was available for streaming. Figure skating events were deliberately scheduled with morning sessions so they could be aired during prime time in the Americas. Coverage took a break in the East for late local news, after which coverage continued into Prime Time Plus, featuring additional live coverage into the Eastern late night and Western prime time hours. NHK and Olympic Broadcasting Services once again filmed portions of the Games in high dynamic range 8K resolution video, including 90 hours of footage of selected events and the opening ceremonies. ATSC 3.0 digital terrestrial television, using 4K resolution, was introduced in South Korea in 2017 in time for the Olympics. This footage was delivered in 4K in the US by NBC Universal parent Comcast to participating television providers, including its own Xfinity, as well as DirecTV and Dish Network. NBC's Raleigh-based affiliate WRAL-TV also held demonstration viewings as part of its ATSC 3.0 test broadcasts. The 2018 Winter Olympics were used to showcase 5G wireless technologies, as part of a collaboration between domestic wireless sponsor KT, and worldwide sponsor Intel. Several venues were outfitted with 5G networks to facilitate features such as live camera feeds from bobsleds, and multi-camera views from cross-country and figure skating events. These were offered as part of public demonstrations coordinated by the two sponsors. The winners of the Olympic Golden Rings Awards were announced in June 2019. There were 75 pieces of broadcast content from the 2018 Olympics submitted over 10 categories. NBC won a total of 8 awards, winning 4 of the main categories: Best Olympic Feature, Best Olympic Digital Service, Best Olympic Program and Best Documentary Film. They came second in the Best On-Air Promotion and Best Social Media Content/Production categories. Discovery/Eurosport won 4 categories: Best On-Air Promotion, Best Production Design, Best Innovation, and Best Social Media Content/Production. They also came second in the Best Olympic Digital Service category. The BBC and NHK took the other 2 main awards, Most Sustainable Operation and Best Athlete Profile respectively. The title of Best Feature at the Youth Olympic Games Buenos Aires 2018 was also awarded to the BBC. Marketing. The official emblem, reflecting ice crystals and derived from the Hangul letters and the initial sounds of PyeongChang, was unveiled on May 3, 2013. In all official materials, the name of the host city was stylized in camel case as PyeongChang, in order to alleviate potential confusion with Pyongyang, the similarly named capital of neighboring North Korea. New international sponsorship deals also debuted in PyeongChang. Toyota was introduced as the new mobility sponsor of the Olympics, although the company waived its domestic sponsorship to the local competitors Hyundai and Kia due to their support of the PyeongChang bid. Alibaba Group and Intel also debuted as e-commerce/cloud services and technology sponsors respectively. Concerns and controversies. North-South Korean relations. Due to the state of relations between North and South Korea, concerns were raised over the security of the 2018 Winter Olympics, especially in the wake of tensions over North Korean missile and nuclear tests. On September 20, 2017, South Korean President Moon Jae-in stated that the country would ensure the security of the Games. The next day, Laura Flessel-Kolovich, the French Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, stated that France would pull out of the Games if the safety of its delegation could not be guaranteed. The next day, Austria and Germany raised similar concerns and also threatened to skip the Games. France later reaffirmed its participation. In early December 2017, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, told Fox News that it was an open question whether the United States was going to participate in the Games, citing security concerns in the region. However, days later the White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, stated that the United States would participate. In his New Year's address on January 1, 2018, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un proposed talks in Seoul over the country's participation in the Games, which would be the first high-level talks between the North and South in over 2 years. Because of the talks, held on January 9, North Korea agreed to field athletes in PyeongChang. On January 17, 2018, it was announced that North and South Korea had agreed to field a unified Korean women's ice hockey team at the Games, and to enter together under a Korean unification flag during the opening ceremony. These moves were met with opposition in South Korea, including protests and online petitions. Critics argued that the government was attempting to use the Olympics to spread pro-North Korean sentiment, and that the unified ice hockey team would fail. A rap video entitled "The Regret for PyeongChang," which echoed this criticism and called the event the Pyongyang Olympics, went viral in the country. Japan's Foreign Affairs Minister Tarno warned South Korea to be wary of North Korea's charm offensive, and not to ease its pressure on the country. The South Korean President, Moon Jae-in, at the start of the Olympics shook hands with Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and a prominent figure of the regime. This marked the first time since the Korean War that a member of the ruling Kim dynasty had visited South Korea. In contrast, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence met with Fred Warmbier and a group of North Korean defectors in PyeongChang. American officials said that North Korea cancelled a meeting with Pence at the last minute. At the closing ceremony, North Korea sent General Kim Yong-chol as its delegate. His presence was met with hostility from South Korean conservatives, as there were allegations that he had a role in the ROK's Cheonan sinking and other past attacks. The Ministry of Unification stated that there is a limitation in pinpointing who was responsible for the incident. Although he is subject to sanctions, they did not affect his ability to visit the country for the Games. Russian doping. Russia's participation in the 2018 Winter Olympics was affected by the aftermath of its state-sponsored doping program. As a result, the IOC suspended the Russian Olympic Committee in December 2017, although Russian athletes whitelisted by the IOC were allowed to compete neutrally under the OR designation. The official sanctions imposed by the IOC included the exclusion of Russian government officials from the Games, the use of the Olympic flag and Olympic anthem in place of the Russian flag and anthem, and the submission of a replacement logo for the OR uniforms. By early January 2018, the IOC had banned 43 Russian athletes from competing in the 2018 Winter Olympics and all future Olympic Games. Of those athletes, 42 appealed against their bans to the Court of Arbitration for Sport and 28 of the appeals were successful, but 11 of the athletes had their sanctions upheld due to the weight of evidence against them. The IOC found it important to note that CA Secretary General insisted that the CA decision does not mean that these 28 athletes are innocent and that they would consider an appeal against the court's decision. Hearings for the remaining 3 athletes were postponed. The eventual number of neutral Russian athletes that participated at the 2018 Games was 168. These were selected from an original pool of 500 athletes that was put forward for consideration and, in order to receive an invitation to the Games, they were obliged to meet a number of pre-Games conditions. 2 athletes, who met the conditions and were cleared by the IOC, subsequently failed drug tests during the Games. Russian President Vladimir Putin and other officials had signaled in the past that it would be a humiliation if Russian athletes were not allowed to compete under the Russian flag. However, there were never actually any official plans to boycott the 2018 Games, and in late 2017 the Russian government agreed to allow their athletes to compete at the Games as individuals under a neutral designation. Despite this public show of cooperation, there were numerous misgivings voiced by leading Russian politicians, including a statement from Putin himself saying that he believed the United States had used its influence within the IOC to orchestrate the doping scandal. 86% of the Russian population opposed participation at the Olympics under a neutral flag, and many Russian fans attended the Games wearing the Russian colors and chanting Russia, in unison, in an act of defiance against the ban. The IOC's decision was heavily criticized by Jack Robertson, primary investigator of the Russian doping program on behalf of the World Anti-Doping Agency, in whose opinion the judgment was commercially and politically motivated. He argued that not only was doping rife among Russian athletes but that there was no sign of it being eradicated. The CA decision to overturn the life bans of 28 Russian athletes and restore their medals was also fiercely criticized by Olympic officials, IOC President Thomas Bach and whistleblower Grigory Rodchenkov's lawyer.